Hello and welcome to Black Cats Chat, the international fans podcast for Sunderland AFC. My name is Lee Thirkell. I'm from the Bilbao Black Cats, and today I'm joined by Chris Todbury in Brisbane, Australia. Chris, good evening to you.
Good evening, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Apart from yesterday's frustrating draw, another one. Feels like we're getting back to the Jack Ross days, doesn't it?
Oh, don't.
I won't. And we've also got Paul Gardiner again. Once again, he's in Thailand. Paul stepping in for Michael from the Irish Black Cats, who's unwell. So Michael, get well soon. Paul, how are you, mate?
Yep, not bad. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, etc.
How's life in Thailand?
Hot.
It's funny. We've got three different climates here. We've got hot,
Aye.
warm, and freezing here in Bilbao. Right. Yesterday we drew with Watford 2-2. I mean, Chris, we would have thought that we might kick on, no? After that result on Monday and after the celebrations after the match, you thought that that could be a point where let's do this, right? But I mean, once again, we get a kick in the teeth, don't we? We get one of those like flat performances, and we get a lucky goal at the end. And then the frustrating thing is that we could have won it twice.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you've pretty much nailed it there. I mean, after the Borough game, yeah, and like I was thinking about it earlier today. This is maybe the third or fourth time that we've had this where we go, all right, now we can kick on. We've had a really good result. We've done well. We got somebody who, yes, Watford are a decent team, but they've not exactly set the world alight. And they rock up at the stadium like, we take an early lead, and you think from there, all right, here we go, and then I don't know. Like it all fell apart. One of the things I was thinking about while I was watching the game, and it really, I know the word everybody's used is frustrated, but what really frustrated me was, and I know it's Reggie's tactics, but we scored a goal and then we just sit back. And I know we play on the break and we play on the counter and we try to use our pace and all the rest of it. But the difference between us and Watford, when Watford scored the equaliser and they got their second, they were in our faces, they were pressing, they were pushing, they were making life hard for us. And we just didn't do that. Like, as the home team, you score early on. To me, you should be taking advantage of that. And we just didn't do any of that until the second half when they went 2-1 up. And then even then, our play was laboured. Like, we could see what we were trying to do, but there was no real, it felt like there was no real plan. Like it was win the ball back and hoof it up to Isidore or hoof it out to Lafay and something will happen. Like it felt like that was the plan for the whole second half.
Yeah.
So yes, very frustrating.
And it didn't work, did it? Not much. I mean, Paul, rumours started coming out on Friday night that Job was injured, that he was going to be missing yesterday, and that was the case, a minor ankle injury. I think it was evident that he was a big miss yesterday, wasn't he?
I think they missed his they missed his physical presence up there, that area of the pitch, because you're not going to get that with Lafay and Grigg or Roberts. Yeah, they were a pretty physical side, eh? Strong lads, and I was like, oh God, we can't I can't deal with this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, go on.
I think that's what Chris was saying is, that it's weird to score and then that G's up the other side, and then their level just never dropped for like 50 odd minutes or something. And it was a weird match. It was quite an odd match to watch.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you heard Lebris's comments, Chris, he basically said, yeah, it wasn't a surprise the way Watford came out. I was thinking, if it wasn't a surprise, then you could have picked a team that could have dealt with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of times, and Paul mentioned it there. There's a couple of times this season we've really struggled against big lads, yeah, and they're, Watford are they're a slight land of the giants. They're all huge. They're all big, broad fellas, and it feels like we have that. And yes, we play skillfully and we play, for the most part, quick, and we pass it about well. Again, for the most part, not necessarily against Watford. but we don't know how to deal with it. And you're right, if Labree's going, yeah, it's no surprise we knew they were going to do that. And you're absolutely right. Like, well, I get Joe wasn't fit, but you've got other options. Like, yeah, it felt like the setup wasn't right. It felt like I don't know. As Paul said, we just once we'd scored, it just felt like it was all Watford.
Yeah, I mean, Salis came in, and I mean, I don't think he did too badly, but I mean, again, like you don't want to move that Dan Neil away from that position that he's grown into, and put Salis in there. And you think if he's going to play in there, he needs to be kind of like dominating the midfield, but he wasn't. And yeah, I don't know. I think Job was a big miss yesterday. I think his energy and I think his hold of play. There was times in the game when we were playing out from the back, like 09 was getting the ball, and he was playing it to either Dan Neil or Salis in the midfield. And Watford had like this kind of strange cluster of four players that would just like box us out, and we couldn't, and they were just dispossessing us really, really easily. Um, but yeah, the goal then, Paul, came from Luke O'Nien. It was was it a set piece as well? It was like I think it was like a
Good
cross or a
piece.
set piece. Trey Hume at the back post. Normally we see Cirkin in that position, but this time it was Trey Hume, O'Nien on the end of it. I mean, did you think that we started well and we deserved that goal?
Um, was it about the 90th minute or something, that goal?
It was around that time. It was quite early. It was quite early on, wasn't it? It was must have been like 15 minutes in or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I thought things seemed to be going all right. Just trying to figure out their formation. I think it was, did they have three at the back with two wing backs? I think that was possibly their formation, and they kind of had us. They were doing this in midfield. I think the goal was. It's nice to see it. It's nice to see the worldies are lovely and everything in that, but to just be able to convert simpler chances is critical. We can't always have this fantastic goal from Isidore or 35 yarders. Yeah, it was nice to see. The ball. I think it was a corner, and just nods it back across the face of goal, and there's somebody there. It's Luke O'Nien. He's there. He's in the poacher's position, and he just has to nod it in.
Mm.
So there's been other games recently where it's exactly the same, where the ball's come in, it's a really good ball, but there's nobody there to put it away.
Hmm.
That's a formation problem,
Yep.
I would imagine.
Yep. Chris, did you think we were going to kick on from there?
I really did. I thought we started slowly. I didn't think it was a good start. And the goal, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but we didn't have any real threatening chances up to that. But then when it went in, I was up. The arms were up. I was like, here we go, And like I said earlier, all the things that we didn't do, it's exactly what Watford did for the two goals that they got. They were in our faces. They were making life hard for us. Paul mentioned there, they were boxing us in, and we couldn't get out. We could not get out. And when we did, it was just a hoof. It was a long ball up to someone, trying to get Isidore to run at 30 kilometers an hour to get some of the balls that they were putting through, and it's just not going to happen. Like, yes, it happens once in a while, but again, two big, strong centre backs. Just yeah, it was just really frustrating. Like, we scored, I thought we were going to kick on, and then it just felt like Watford just went, all right, this is what we're going to do, and we just couldn't live with it.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm looking at the first half possession now. Like they had 66 possession
Mm. Yeah,
to our 34%, and like that's us at home in the first half of a game.
yeah,
I mean, that needs to change, doesn't
That's
it?
that's terrible. Didn't realise that.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the rum. You see, it's the rum, lads. You see, that was my drink for last night.
yeah.
I
yeah,
didn't know
right.
it's that.
But yeah, I mean, we did have three shots on target to their two in the first half, and then we had four corners to their one. But 66% possession in the first half at home against a team that's had 7 defeats in the last 9 games. I mean, that's just
Yeah.
typical Sunderland,
Oh,
isn't it?
Goodness, bloody me. Well, there you go. They've had
Yeah.
7 defeats in the last. Well.
Well,
What's going to
they
happen?
won one and they drew. They won one and they drew one. But I mean, it's the similar thing to
Oh,
Plymouth, isn't it? I mean, Plymouth were in
fucking
awful
hell.
form.
Hmm.
But then, yeah, they scored their goal. I think definitely no complaints, no Chris for the penalty.
No, 100%. I mean, the only complaint I've got is I don't know what he was thinking. Like it wasn't going anywhere. Nothing. I don't know what. And Cirkin, he's normally so reliable. I don't know. And you could almost see from the way he responded. His reaction to the penalty. He knew as soon as the whistle went, he knew that he messed up. And like I say, I just don't know what he was thinking. But no complaints about the penalty whatsoever.
No, and it was a canny good save, wasn't it? Just before from Pato,
Yeah,
from the header. And I was thinking, oh, well, now just like usher him out of play because he was
yeah,
going nowhere. He was going away from goal, and he just
yeah.
comes in and makes that clumsy challenge. And if I don't know if you remember his Cirkin yellow card, it was like a short time after I think it was.
It was. Yeah,
Uh, he got a yellow card, and I was thinking, but why have you done that? Like he's going nowhere. The ball's like on the wing, it's going out. You don't have to dive in. So I don't know. There was like some strange decisions from the players yesterday, I thought. But
yeah.
Paul, it was a neat penalty, wasn't it, for them? It was tucked in nicely. Pat was normally quite good with penners, but he went the wrong way, and I think we didn't really recover from that, didn't it? Because it happened on the 42nd minute, I think that goal, didn't it? And then after half time, you're thinking like Reggie's is going to get into them, and then what? A minute later, Paul, they score a pretty good goal, don't they?
That was a great goal. Bloody great goal. If you, he didn't really take or need much time. He just bent it in, freaking Ronaldo-esque. And Pato's a massive guy, and he couldn't even reach it. I mean, it was right in that corner slot. The corridor of uncertainty. But why didn't we get a penalty when the guys had his arms around Isidore?
Yeah.
He's got both his arms around him. I didn't see the Cirkin penalty, by the way, lads. I was in the kitchen doing my thing, as you do, and then I've come back. I got I watched the match. Let's just say that, and I come back in and it's 1-1. What the hell's happened here? And the guys, he literally just finished the penalty and was just on the replay. I was like, one of those things when you leave, you step away, you go to the toilet or something, and you come back and something's happened. That happened.
Yeah, I do. I do know how that feels, mate. I felt it when we played Charlton in the playoff final a couple of years ago.
Oh,
I
are
went,
you talking about the Charlton game? One of the best games ever played at Wembley.
no, not that one.
Not that one.
Not the
Right.
League One one. The League One one.
The League One one.
Yeah, I remember like basically settling for extra time, and I said to my mate Johnny, "I'm gonna go for a beer. Get me a beer out." Next thing we know, they score. So, no beer, go home and cry.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
but yeah, their goal, Chris. I thought like Dan Neil could have been on his toes more. But it was like just after half time. I don't know. It was a bit cold, wasn't it? Because Dan Neil was there. He could have closed them down, but he gave him way too much space to get that shot off. And I don't know. It just seemed like to float in, didn't it? I mean, it was there in the top corner. It was difficult for Pato, but I think Dan Neil could have done better. But after that, we went 2-1 down, but we still didn't get into the game until later on, did we not?
No, and like I said, it felt like the only avenue was Lampard to Wilson or Lampard to Buffet. Like it felt like that's what everybody was doing. The second we got the ball, it was just a matter of just try to get rid of it, get it to one of the skillful lads, and hopefully they'll pull off a miracle. Um, I got, I'll be really honest. About the 60-minute mark, I started to kind of go, oh, we're not going to score here. Like it felt like one of those where it just felt like we could have been playing until Tuesday and we wouldn't have scored. Obviously, as per usual with me, turned out to be wrong. But we couldn't get hold of the midfield. It was such a theme for the whole second half. Like we couldn't string passes together. The Neil thing. I think Neil now is so used to playing in that further back defensive role that when Samed does come in, he's a little bit lost. He's a little bit like, oh, I'm not exactly sure where I need to be.
Yeah.
And things like this happen. I feel like he spent, I mean, we're coming up 2 seasons now where he's played in that kind of that sixth role, if you want to give it the modern term. And it feels like whenever Samed or somebody else comes in and plays that role, he just doesn't quite know where to be. And it's a bit of a shame because I think Neil would, I mean, he's great at the six. I think he'd be great further forward. He'd be great. He's got a good run on him. He could be a box to box. He's got all the skills of a modern midfielder, but it just felt like he was a bit lost. I mean, you can't, you can't do anything about those kinds of finishes. I mean, as soon as it left his foot, I just went, oh, and like it was the only place that Powell couldn't get to it. It was right in the top bins. It was one of those you just got to go, yep, fair play.
Yeah, no, it was a cracking goal. Paul, it is a bit of a strange one, isn't it, with Dan Neil, because he has got used to that position. He has been one of our better players in the last, what, 10, 15 games or so. But we don't have anyone else really to step in to that midfield because Lefebvre's on the wing because we haven't got any wingers fit. Uh, Alexic doesn't seem to be ready according to Lebris to start games. So the only option was really to put him further forward and bring Samed in. I mean, and he's mentioned in his comments that he would possibly like to bring Samed in more to start more games and play Daniel further up towards the end of the season. Do you think that would be a mistake?
Um, Depends on the formation, doesn't it? Like getting the fee in. I can't recall us doing that, like getting some player in and who's on really good wages, and I still can't. I can't see how we're paying all of his wages. But the fee is going to be what's the false nine or the guy that sits in the hole behind Isidore. If he goes there, then you have to have two central midfielders, and they would imagine that's going to be Dan Neil or Job in a rotating. I mean, Brown's going to come back. I don't think he did too bad, Brown, since he's been here. Been all right. And he's an older, an older head. And Rig, or you rotate Rig or Job. It's for me, it's the formation is the thing. If they go with the 4-2-3-1, and Lafie's in that creative hole, popping off balls left and right and up to Isidore, because we can see a few occasions where Lafie's actually done the thing we'd like to see more often. Is he's played the through ball, he's beat the centre backs, and Isidore's fast enough to get on that ball and put it away, which is what he did when he went around the keeper, didn't he?
Mm.
Though was it Middlesbrough? Was it Middlesbrough? He looks
Yeah.
like he's going to shoot, and he just
Dummy,
carried
yeah.
it. He just where was his confidence? Where was his confidence? Like he has that confidence, and then yesterday he completely, what's the saying? Bottled it.
Yeah.
And like he kicked the ball at the keeper's legs, man. You don't. I mean, just you got to at least go left or right at the keep, unless you think you're going to nutmeg it. And Mayenda did the same bloody thing. Kicked the ball at the keeper's. It's like
Yeah. Well,
that's frustrating.
now that we've talked about that, I mean, Chris, I haven't watched it back. I think Isidore took a touch too many. I think like he didn't need to take an extra touch because I think that gave the keeper a chance to kind of like set himself. It reminded me, oh, was it the goal? I can't remember who was it. Was it against Portsmouth? I'm thinking when Isidore scored and he got through. I don't know if it was Portsmouth. Someone will correct me, but anyway, there was a goal where Mayenda put him through, and it was like a similar position, and Isidore just like took one touch and hit it first time. And he placed it in the corner. And he tried to do the same thing yesterday, but the thing was that he took an extra touch, and that extra touch basically gave the keeper a chance to get closer and close the gap. And yeah, so that was disappointing. I mean, we could have got that one. The Alexic one, Chris, similar to the Millwall, wasn't it? When he got put through a Millwall, it was probably like
Yeah.
well, the same side, just different ends, but same angle. And he
Yeah.
tries to toe poke it with his outside of his foot, just like it's one of those like football, like futsal, no, five-a-side football goals, isn't it? Where you just want to basically rather than place it or blast it, just like toe poke it.
Yeah.
But is that just like I know naivety, composure?
It's a good question. I think I'll be honest. I thought Wilson was going to stick it in when he got through. I was up off the sofa. I was like, it's in, and obviously it wasn't. Because he's got that in the locker. Like he can ping one from the edge of the area. He's got, he's. I mean, he's scored a couple of absolute corkers where there's not been much backlift and it's just gone in like a rocket. I thought he was going to do something similar, and then, like you said, when he took that extra touch. I then thought, like Paul said earlier, he was going to do what he did against Middlesbrough and go around the keeper because he's got previous for that. He's done that a few times. There's been a couple of videos I saw online where he's done that at Zenit and he's done it in previous clubs. Um, he's got that in the locker, drops the shoulder and he's rounding it in. So I thought it was going to. I really think that it was going to go in. The Alexis one, I think he's got something. There's the lads. He's clearly talented. He's clearly got something about him. I wonder if he's getting 20 minutes here and there. I wonder if he just needs a bit more game time. Is he a bit rusty? Is he a bit nervous? Is he kind of thinking, I'm not going to get another 20 minutes for another 3 games, so I need to make it count. It was just like both of them. They were both what you would probably call, if not clear-cut chances, 75% of a clear-cut chance. They were both real good chances to score a goal. And for both of them, I thought they were going to go in, but obviously they didn't. But yeah, just again, frustrating.
Yeah, no, and what I like about Alexic is that he has a nice turn of pace, doesn't he? I mean, the way
Yeah,
the way he burst past that defender yesterday, I was like,
it's
it's pretty impressive, and like that could be kind of key for those last 20, 25 minutes.
it's so odd being a Sunderland supporter having players with pace because it's not something we've been blessed with for a lot of years. It's like Wilson's rapid, Lefay's got a good turn of pace on him. Mayenda's pretty quick. We've suddenly got these quick players like, oh, but yeah, where's that come from? Like, we've suddenly got a bit of pace about us, which is it's an odd feeling for a Sunderland fan. But yeah, like I say, he's got something. I do like him. I rate the lad. Um, Wilson's just he's a mystery. He'll score an absolute corker, or and we've seen both sides of it. We've seen him hit it to the keeper a few times. I'm not going to talk about penalties at Burnley. It's just it seems to be one side or the other with him. It's just frustrating. I don't know if he panicked because it was the 93rd minute. Don't know.
Yeah. Um, Paul, then we got what was it, 88th minute equaliser, I think it was from Dennis Cirkin. Uh, suppose he redeemed himself enough
Hmm.
for the penalty thing. Was it the 88th minute? Yeah, 88th, 89th minute. A goal from a corner, would you believe it? Another one.
Yeah.
Uh, getting used to these, aren't we? But yeah, that's what we want, isn't it? We want like some decent deliveries, and people getting on the end of them. I mean, I didn't see it coming, to be honest. I don't think any of us saw a 2-2. I thought it was just going to be one of those days where we're going to get beat,
Mm.
but we did get it. Did you think that when the board went up for 5 minutes that we're going to get a winner here?
I just learned not to be that optimistic. Even, which is daft to say it. We are fourth in the league. We were 16th. We finished 16th last season. It's been a fantastic season, an unbridled success. And no, I didn't think, oh, come on, here we go. Now we're gonna go and win it from here. And then those two gilt-edged chances get your hopes up, and they didn't score from them. And you could see Isidore like, why did I just do that? Like, what is it in these key moments for footballers? Is a bloody harsh living, if you ask me, in that way. There are moments where they must feel like they've betrayed themselves and was like, why did I do that? That was stupid. In the moment, it's if you're thinking, I guess if you're professional, if you're thinking, you might screw it up. But if it's just an instinctual thing, an instinctual hit or whatever it is, and that's the real talent, I guess, of a player, isn't it? Who can do something really great without thinking, an instinct. And yeah, he looked absolutely devastated. And I think the Alexis, was there a man? It wasn't a man, chance, was it? It was
Alexis,
the
yeah.
Alexis. So that was afterwards, wasn't it? I think even then there was another chance. And hang on, how many chances do you guys need? I mean, because a lot of these clubs you see when they score again, oh, well, there you go. That's how easy it is. That's how you do it. I'm a bit worried about the goals we're conceding as well, lads. We conceded a lot of goals recently. What the bloody hell's happened there? We
But
weren't
isn't that
conceding hardly anything.
six
For,
six in 3 games?
I've
Which,
just checked the results and the form recently.
yeah,
It's not good.
no, and
Mm.
that's one of the points that we're going to go move on to now is 6 goals in 3 games. And I saw on social media and forums, Chris, people saying, is it time for '09 to drop out and Ballard to come in to get that bit more solidity? Do you think that's a fair assessment, or do you think it's a bit harsh and singling '09 out?
I think it's. I'm a bit on the fence with this because I think Luke O'Nien has been magnificent for us since he joined.
Agreed.
Dodgy debut aside, he has been like you could almost. I don't want to go Kevin Ball, Mr. Sunderland, but
Mm.
that the level of commitment that he's put in and the love that he clearly has for the club and the extra work that he does and just everything about him, he's the kind of character that we want around the place. That said, I do feel like, and I'm hoping it's just a drop in form. I feel like the last few games, he just hasn't looked as good, and he's probably the only central defender at the club who can bring it out as well as he does. I don't think Ballard has quite got that. Mepham is a fabulous central defender, but I don't think he's quite got the range of passing and the vision that Luke O'Nien's got. Like Luke O'Nien is the only one who can really play that ball playing defender role. But I don't know. The last few games, he has. I know, yeah, he just hasn't looked the same. So
But
it might not be the worst thing in the world to drop him for Ballard for just a couple of games and just see if that kind of wakes him up a bit.
and the thing is, that you mentioned there, Chris, is that he is good at bringing the ball out. Probably the best defender we've got at bringing the ball out and playing those balls. But we haven't seen that for a handful of games now. As
Yeah.
as soon as he gets the ball, what I'm seeing is that he's just giving it to either Mepham or he's giving it to Cirkin, and he's not kind of like taking any risks for, or not necessarily risks, but like playing or trying one of those balls. He's playing much on the safe side, isn't he? And I think if he's going to play on the safe side, then we just may as well play with Ballard, because if we're
Yeah.
basically going to go from right to left, left to right, then I'd rather have a stronger defender in the team.
And Ballard is the better defender. Like he's stronger in the air. He's got a better tackle. He's probably a bit quicker than Luke. I'm hoping it's just a confidence thing with Luke because the ball I mean, it was a bit of a hospital pass that he gave to Job, the week before, that led
Mm.
to a goal. It feels like he's in his head a bit. And it was interesting. You could see when he got booked against Watford, you could see him talking to himself. And the commentator, I don't know if it was the same feed that you guys had because it was on one of the satellite channels over here. The commentator was going, oh, he's talking to himself. You can see he's talking to himself. Like he was just having a right old chat with himself on the pitch to kind of go. And he's very much about the psychological side of the game, and he talks a lot about your mental attitude and all that kind of stuff. And he's obviously just going, right, play it sensible, don't do anything silly, don't get a second yellow. But yeah, I feel like it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to, especially with Luton next, another team of rugby players. They're all big lads. Probably wouldn't hurt to have Ballard back in the team, but Luke on the bench.
Yeah. Where do you stand on that, Paul?
I think Luke O'Nien should play as a central defensive midfielder. I felt that way for a long time. I think he's done incredibly well considering he's I mean, average midfielder, maybe. From the League One days, he's come along a long way. He is Mr. Sunderland for me. He shouldn't be dropped. And if you don't want to drop him because of his character, what he brings to the team, and he does carry the ball out. You'll notice that quite a lot is he is the man that brings the ball out, and he can ping it forward, and some Lafee will get on it. Or his contribution's been really good in that way. It'd be harsh to drop him. It'd be really harsh to drop him. I think the club's going to have a problem soon because they want to keep those assets, don't they? Those younger players who are worth a lot of money. Got to keep them sweet. Dare you rotate them? Do we dare rotate them and put? I would say this Salas guy isn't the priority. I'd rather see Luke O'Nien try him in there as a CDM if you're going to play with this, a CDM, and that means you release the two central midfielders to go further forward. Other than that, yeah, I mean, everybody loves him, don't they?
Yeah,
We all love him.
yeah. Well, of course we do, we do. But yeah, I mean, he's not getting any younger. So he's what? He's
I
pushing
think he might be
30, I think.
30. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Ballard must be like 23, 24. And I think, yeah, you got a much stronger defender in there. So I think, yeah, it might have to become a decision for Lebris soon, and it might be
A five
unpopular.
foot eight slim lad. It's really not ideal to have that. Can see how he has other qualities that negate that, like we just said. And Christ, he scored yesterday. It seems odd to say, "Well, should we drop him?" But this is the championship, and it's tall, big lads, isn't it? It's even worse in League One, right? But you get to the Premier League, all right. Now you've got some nippy players, some shorter players, and but you're going to have big lads at centre back. That is a standard. We've Sunderland have I don't know whether they've allowed it to go on for too long, and they don't want to drop him because of the emotional involvement with Luke. But it's really not ideal to have a 5'7", 5'8" centre back.
No.
Right?
On the flip side, I mean, he does read the game very well, and he does win more headers than he really should because of his reading of the game. But yeah, it is going to be a big decision to make soon. Um, Chris, on to another Chris Rigg. For me, he's been bang out of form for a good while now, and it's not because of his ability, because we all know he's a very talented player. It's just that he's simply 17 years old, and he looks knackered. He looks like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he's not having an impact. I mean, yesterday I thought he was giving the ball away, and bless him, he was running around trying to get it back, but I think he's not giving anything to the team at the minute. I think he needs taken out. I think he needs to be used from the bench for the rest of the season. I don't know what you
Yeah,
think about
I
that.
Yeah,
I
it's a good
agree.
shout. I think he reminds me of Job in the first season. It felt like we burned Job out, and he was just
Oh, it
absolutely
did.
knackered.
Absolutely
Um,
did.
yeah, we ruined him. And it feels like he's trying too hard as well. Like you said, like he gives the ball away and then he's running around like a headless chicken trying to run it back. I think he's thinking about it too much. He's worrying too much. He's in his head too much. As you said, he's probably feeling that, which is ridiculous at his age. He's probably feeling that pressure of, I need to do something heroic and I need to do something amazing. Like he's the lad's 17.
Mm.
He's a kid.
Yeah.
There's so much pressure on him. Um, and he is, as you said, supremely talented. I mean, the kid's going to go all the way with the right. If he keeps going on the trajectory that he's on, and he keeps working hard, he's going to go as far as any player can. He just, yeah, it wouldn't. Again, another one probably sounds a bit harsh, but it wouldn't hurt to bring him out of the starting 11 for a while and just let him chill out a bit.
Well, I mean, the thing is apart from like the giving the ball away and running around a bit like a headless chicken, I think some of the chances that he's been getting as well on the edge of the box, where he's either been blasting it over the bar or he's been scuffing his shot, he wouldn't have done that at the start of the season. He would have at least hit the target. So that's like another sign that there's like a lot of pressure on him, isn't there? So,
Yeah, he's
um,
scratching at stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Paul, would you agree with that? Rig needs a break and use
Yeah, we
him from the
shouldn't
bench.
shouldn't be relying on a 17-year-old Chris Rigg at this level. Not on this level. In his first season, that's crazy. You can go back to what's his name when we were in League One. We
Dan Neil
overplayed
and
that centre back. The
Callum
centre back
Doyle.
we honoured. That's him, Doyle. We bloody overplayed him to different situations, circumstances, of course. But do we have to play Rigg as often as we do? I'd say I don't think we do. Personally, rotate the kid and put Alexis in there, or I don't know when Brown's back, but Job will be back, and then it's this thing of we're going through a transitional stage after 30 games. Whereas the first six or so games, we looked very settled, and the lineup was very settled, and it was going really well. We were really good defensively, and I just don't know what I think with the injuries and the this and the that, and it's kind of the team's always been kind of slightly tweaked and adjusted, and formation wise. Yes, I would drop Greg. I think fair enough, mate. Good job. You've had a good, you come on as
Encouragement or
just. I just think he's had too much football too early. The same as Job last season. The same as I think it's really early. You're asking a lot of these kids, man. These blokes are massive in this league. And
Yeah,
if Rig gets the ball, he's 6'2", he's 6'3", he's been playing football. They're just physically dealing with him. Unless he's a little messy and he can dance around these big tall lads, it's not going to work
yeah,
consistently anyway.
yeah. Well, we'll see on Wednesday whether he against Luton whether he goes out or he stays in. Um, Chris, we saw Jan Paveda get some more minutes yesterday. Um, I don't think he's match fit, but I think he's got something a little bit different in terms of his step overs. I mean, he does like a million step overs. I think he creates confusion in the opposition defense. I think he could be a useful asset in the last few games, but I don't think yesterday was the game for him to come on for 30 minutes against a massive Watford team because the most times he got the ball, he just seemed to get pushed back, and he was like, unless he had space to run at them, he was all right. But as soon as he got the ball and he had 2 men on him, he was basically getting pushed off the ball or going back. I don't think yesterday was the right game for him to come on.
No, I felt like he just wants to do tricks. Like he just wanted to do a trick and then another trick and then another trick and eventually he either lost it or he gave it away. And I mean I don't want to. It's This is a very unfair statement. It's unfair to compare him with Lefay, but Lefay just moves the ball. He gets the ball and he just the rate at which he passes it or gives it to somebody else is rapid with it. Whereas it feels like Poveda wants to do a step over and a trick and a just all that. He did one. He sort of stabbed it into the area, and that was the one time that I thought he kind of went, "Oh yeah, yeah, it's a contribution." I think it might have been Cirkin that got onto. Anyway, he stabbed it into the area, and one of the lads got on it, and I thought that was probably the only time that he did anything productive. The rest of the time, like, it was just tricks, and then he was losing the ball. So yeah, I wasn't overly impressed with him. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, no, there was a time as well where he got the ball on the right hand side. He beat his man. He got ahead of his man, but then he pulled back and tried to beat him again and lost the ball. And I was thinking, yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
Just cross it.
yeah, yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
just cross it. But
yeah.
I think if he gets up to speed, he could be a nice asset to have. Um, but yeah, I don't think he's going to be a world beater. Uh, right then, Paul, we had Dan Ballard come on for Chris Mepham and kind of raised a few eyebrows. Is Mepham carrying an injury? According to Labrise, it was just tactical because Ballard is stronger in the air. Uh, Happy with that? Did it surprise you?
By that stage, I was pretty deep into that bottle of rum, so I do know that Ballard was on, but I didn't know that Mepper was off. So there you go. That's a that's the standard of my review of the match. But I I mean, Ballard was like the flavour of the month for a long time, wasn't he? I mean, he was absolutely. I mean, last season, um, it's a good story. He's a great young lad. I don't know if you saw the interview before the season started. He was in somewhere like Spain, I think he was,
Yeah, I
on
remember that.
holiday
Yeah,
or Greece.
yeah,
Somebody was with him. An older guy interviewed him, and he's lovely lad. And that is a centre back. He's physically a centre back. He plays like a centre back. So no, I didn't have any problem with that. I don't know. It was weird, wasn't it? Why did we suddenly turn it on for the last 5 or so minutes? We
yeah.
scored the goal, I suppose. That was the thing. They should be kind of like doing that from the start when you're playing at home. And it's really weird. Lafitte, I mean, Lebris is kind of starting to sound like he just repeats himself. And these experiences, there's people are picking up on the word he uses, the experience. For me, the word is interesting. Like he always says, he's overuse of the word interesting, but he's not a native speaker. We can't bash him for that. But I got through half of the post-match interview yesterday, and I turned it off. Well, that's the first time I've done that. But just kind of like, yeah, it's like you're reflecting on something that it seems like you're talking about it as if you've got no control over it.
Mm. Well, going on to Labrise and his comments post-match, Chris, he
Mm.
said, "We started well and finished well, but I'm a bit disappointed. It wasn't a surprise the challenge we faced as this team has many powerful players. It suited perfectly with our own weaknesses and we were dominated 1v1. After their second goal, we played our strengths. don't think so. I'm not too sure about that. And it was more positive as it's not easy to change the dynamic of a game. Well, if you get a goal, it helps, yeah. Our second half was better with some subs at the end. Their goalkeeper was man of the match, so we had chances to win.
Hmm.
I mean, it's broad strokes. He hasn't said anything that isn't true. Like, depending on the angle that you look at it. I mean, I'd get like you. I don't know if I agree with his. Yes, we did start well, and yes, we did end well. If we're talking the last 10 minutes or so, but the bit in the middle, from minute 20 to sort of minute 85 was a bit rubbish, to be honest. Like it wasn't great. It wasn't a good watch. And I think you made a comment earlier on about, we knew what to expect. We knew they were going to be big and physical, and it felt like it didn't set us up to counter that or to deal with that. Like we didn't seem to have a plan in the second half. We won it back, and then there was no cohesion. We didn't control the midfields. It just, yeah, it wasn't great. I didn't realize Regis was the king of understatements, because that is quite the understatement, to say the least.
hmm Paul, what do you make of Regis's comments after the matches? I mean, he doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, but it seems,
Hmm.
yeah, he mentioned before that his comments are getting a bit repetitive, aren't they? After a match, like slow start, frustrating, uh, solve the
Hmm.
problems.
Yeah, it's that thing for me. It's he's reflecting on the process of what he's just seen, and as if he's not involved, as if he's not what he wasn't, as if he couldn't at the time, to to make changes, or you know what I mean. I mean, when Watford scored, obviously the tails were up, and they continued to be successful, much more successful than we were. That just doing the things, doing the basics, getting into good positions and not getting overrun in midfield, and that's a selection thing. So I think it was, would you say, four at the back, Salis, the defensive midfielder, that pushed Rig up, and Dan Neil up there. And I think that was the formation. And then Isidore's on his own, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, Chris, if we look at the bench yesterday, there wasn't really a lot of attacking quality on the bench, I
Mm.
don't think. I mean, Mayenda was there and he came on, and fair enough, he put Wilson through for that chance. I think he's better used from the bench as Mayenda. But I mean, if we look at the bench, we had Ballard, Mayenda, Moore, Alexic, Shelder, Paveda, and then we had three of the under 21s, which was like Ogunsuyi, Harrison Johnson, Ben Middlemass, basically, who are there to just make the numbers up, aren't they? Because
Jesus.
they're not gonna get
Yeah,
brought on.
No.
So I mean, that brings me to like,
it's crazy.
yeah, I mean, that brings me to like letting Al-Shish go.
Oh,
Because I totally don't agree with that. And I've seen people like, well, as soon as Watson and Mundell come back, he won't get game time. I was like, well, if he's playing well, he will get game time because surely he won't be dropped. Um, so yeah, I'm a bit worried about that. I mean, we've got what? We've got what's his name? Alan Brown. He's back next week apparently.
yeah,
Mundell's not too far away. Watson the week after.
yeah.
So the bench might look healthier, but should we have kept our sheesh?
I mean, I would have kept him. I was really annoyed when they announced that they let him go to Portsmouth. Because he's done really well. Like, he hasn't spat his dummy out. Labrie kind of froze him out. He didn't spit his dummy. He worked hard. He kept doing all the right things. He got in the team and he did well. Like, I mean, he didn't set the world on fire, but he was solid. He was steady away, and he would have been a really good option from the bench. My only hope is that when we do get Mundell and Watson back, we move Lefay to the middle, and then we've got two good wingers, and we've got Lefay in the middle. And I mean that, maybe Watford aside, but that should terrify most Championship defences, providing we can win the midfield battle and get them on the ball, and get the wingers on the ball. Um, yeah, I'm same as you, mate. I'm same page. I do not think we should let Oshish go. I'm annoyed about that.
Yeah, Paul, do you think that that's our last hope for getting an automatic place? the return of Mundle and Watson on the left wing and move Lafayette to the middle.
In a 4-2-3-1, so you've got and that's two central midfielders, not two central defensive midfielders. Just a standard central midfielder. Dan Neil's he's always going to be picked. So it's who's the other guy? Because if Lafay goes into that hole in the hole between the central midfield and Isidore, that's one formation. Or he sticks to this central defensive midfielder, Salis, and then Lafay is one of the two behind Isidore. It's whichever one of those systems works, I mean, they might do both, eh? I mean, say if you're playing away from home, you use Salis as a central defensive midfielder or somebody, even Daniel there. But yeah, it's going to come down to rotation because I don't think they're going to drop the fee, are they? He has to be played every game, and I think contractually he has to be played every game. Then you've got that problem with the rig thing. You're like, oh, we want to play him every game. I mean, mostly positive thoughts, I suppose. I'm a touch hungover. So, if we didn't have Lafay, we'd probably still be all right, because Mundell and Watts are going to come back and get some normality in the shape back to what it was when we had that is the system. We have the inside winger, inside forward, Mundell or Watson. Mundell, of course, will be the first choice. Then you've got to worry of the right side, bless him, Roberts. Not having the best season, really, but it's just when he overdoes it. Like he can keep the ball too long at times, and then he's coming up against three players. It's gone. The moment's gone by that time. It has to be done quickly. If it's going to go to Roberts, he has to do some sort of trick and win, beat his man or whatever it is. But don't did it like this. And
Is
I
that is
know he
that
cuts
is
some.
that a sign of our slow build-up play though? That we don't get the ball fast enough to the wingers or to the more creative players?
It's that, yeah. That is their way, isn't it, to build it out from the back, by which time they've got their players back. And that's how we've been playing all season, and it's mostly worked, right? Because we're fourth. It's mostly worked. It's just
Yeah,
it's that thing of, oh, we could get in the automatics, and people are like, "Oh, we could get in the automatics," and I'm easy if we do or we don't, to be honest.
yeah. Well, Chris, I mean, people say that, yeah, listen, we're still, 5 points behind Sheffield United. We're still averaging 2 points a game, which is enough. But the thing is that gap is increasing little by little, isn't it? I think.
It is. I don't think it's over just yet. I think there's more twists and turns to come. Sheffield United will likely drop points, other clubs will likely drop points, but I think the challenge that we've got is that the amount of times that we've dropped points from winning positions and the amount of times when, like, we said, play really well against Middlesbrough, get a great result, everybody's on a high, and then come into this game and something's just not quite right and we're a bit flat. It's starting to feel like it's going to be playoffs. I'll be honest, but I don't think it's over just yet. I mean, there's 12 weeks of the season left. There's a lot of football left to be played. There's a lot of drama. The other clubs will be playing teams down the bottom who'll be fighting for their lives, and there'll be other twists and turns. And Burnley, I mean, for all that they're up there, they've never really impressed me. They're not look great. They've got a ridiculous defense, but they've still. Every time I've seen them, I'm like, I don't get it. Like, I don't get how they're as high as they are. But you're right. I mean, it's now five. What is it? 5 points to second with
Yep.
the same games played. Yeah. It's getting tougher and tougher, and it's getting to the point where we can't do what we've done against Plymouth and against Watford. Like we have to stop that now. It can't happen anymore. Otherwise, it is going to be playoffs.
Well, the frustrating thing is, Paul, is that Sheffield United lost 3 games in a row before they won yesterday. Um, and we're still 5 points behind them. So I
Mm.
think like we keep on saying that, oh, these teams will have a dip. We've had our dip. These teams are going to have a dip. They've had their dip and we haven't capitalized. So does that kind of suggest that it's not going to be automatics?
Well, there's 15 games to go, and Mundell's going to come back, and I just hope they don't rush him back too early and he gets injured again. Obviously, so that's this last 15 games in theory. We'll have our strongest side, and we've added the fee. We might be able to see then like a strong, dominant Sunderland playing where we are scaring the shit out of other teams because it's just really hard to get the ball off us, right? Will we go up automatically?
Not
I don't
sure.
think we're ready. I don't think we're ready. I can't see a team that ends up 16th the season before that then goes up automatically the next season. I just don't see. I don't think has that ever happened in history. I mean, fingers crossed we get Mandel back and we're back to firing on all cylinders. Roberts can get a bit of we can get a bit of rotation for Roberts with now that Pervader's fit. So I'd say it's coming together at a great time. Players are coming back from injuries. I'm terrified of going to the Premier League. You know that. I don't want us to go. Not yet. We're not ready. There's no way we're ready for that kind of thing.
Yeah,
We'd get
well,
absolutely mauled.
possibly. Paul, sorry, Chris, before we finish then, there's been 7 games this season where we've dropped points after going a goal ahead. Obviously yesterday, Plymouth at home the week before, Blackburn away, Millwall away, Coventry at home, Leeds at home, and Plymouth away. So 7 games where we've dropped points from winning positions. You just simply can't do that, can you not?
No, you can't. You can't. Not if you want automatics. And again, like it's not, this season it doesn't. Leeds aside, who are building up a heck of a head of steam now, it doesn't feel like there's anybody else who's. It's not like last season where there was just two clear, stronger teams than everybody else. Um, I feel like that's a combination of our youth. Yeah, I still think there's a just a lack of experience in the team where they don't know what to do. They don't know how to deal with some of these situations. And like I said at the start, just the way we just sit back. And yes, it's great that we're comfortable without the ball and we can break. But I feel like we're just doing it too much and we're inviting teams onto us instead of taking the game by the scruff of the neck. And Paul's right. We've got a lot of players coming back and we could be in for a strong end to the season. My concern, and I hear what you're saying, Paul, about not you don't want us to go up because we'll be like Southampton, we'll get battered every week. My concern is we're going to lose a lot of really good players if we don't go up. And if that's what happens, that's what happens, right? I mean, Job's probably
Yeah.
going to go. There'll be
Yeah.
people throwing silly money at Rig likely.
Mm.
Neil possibly. It would just, that's my concern. If we don't go up, then are we back, not square one, but are we going to take a good few steps back because we're going to lose a lot of these good players?
A rebuild, no, might be
Yeah.
necessary if that happens.
Yeah.
Uh, Paul, last thing then, last couple of things. We've signed Jayden Danns from Liverpool. Apparently, he's a versatile forward. I was speaking to my Liverpool mate yesterday, and he said, yeah, he is a versatile forward, but he has also played in well, a bit deeper in like a centre midfield role as well. But generally, he normally plays through the middle. But he's injured. He's got a stress fracture in his back, so he's not going to see him for at least a couple of weeks. Happy with that signing, or do you think we were a bit disappointed that we didn't get someone with a bit more experience?
Yes. Yeah. That is their model, though, isn't it? It's to. I guess they did what they could. It was a bit late in the day, wasn't it? Is he a forward?
Yeah,
Centre
versa.
forward, out and
No,
out,
no, he's
or
versatile forward apparently. So he can
so
play
he's
on the
going to play on
left,
the left or the
right.
left or right.
He can play left, right through the middle, or he can play as a number 10 apparently.
Okay. Um. Well, sure. See how he goes, eh? See how it go, mate.
Yeah,
Glad we didn't lose Watson. That's look at his Chris. He is that all the time. Fair go, mate. I'm glad we kept Watson. We don't know what happened there, right? He was, I believe, he was given permission to travel, and something went wrong. I'm glad about that. I don't know how long he's got on his contract. Is
18
Watson
months,
down?
apparently.
Well, there you go. That's what Chris was saying, right? It's end of the season. We'll lose these, possibly lose those good players, your Jobs, your Riggs, and whatnot. But I think the team, I think they've done a good job recruiting, actually, surprisingly well in recent times. So, hey, if they go, they go.
Well, on that point,
Um,
though, on that point
mm,
about contracts, I don't know if you saw that Dan Neil and Dennis Cirkin contract talks have been
mm,
put on hold till the end of the season, basically to see
mm,
which division we're in. So again,
mm.
there's like what you got Watson, you've got Neil, you got Cirkin, so and obviously possibly Rig, Job are going to get interest.
Yep.
So I
I
think
imagine that they couldn't get them to. I would imagine they couldn't get them to agree a new contract with, say, Cirkin and Neil at the end of last season, which is like, these are your big hopes, right? You want to pin them down to a 4-year, 5-year deal. I don't think those guys were happy, want to do that. Now they're down at 18 months, I suppose. It's the same position. It's the power of the player's position is I'm not going to commit. And I can decide when or if I want to renew with Sunderland or not. That's not great. That's
well,
not great.
Chris, it's in their court, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
um
100%. Yeah.
like they're thinking if I sign a deal now, it's on championship terms, whereas if
Yeah.
we go up, I can get a better deal on Premier League
Mm,
terms.
Yeah, absolutely.
mm.
And I mean, and they're both good enough for the Premier League. I mean, Cirkin's probably the best left back in the country in the championship of the country in the championship. I think Dan Neil the last 15, 20 games or so has been brilliant again. I think he's been really, really good player. Um, and for all the he's Sunderland daft and all the rest of it,
Mm.
like I get it. It's they've got one career and it's a short one. They get 15, 16 years maybe if they're lucky. You can't blame them for wanting to go and do something else. I mean, the last sort of couple of seasons aside, look at what Henderson did since he left us. You know,
Yeah, I was going
the,
to say
the
Henderson, good
yeah,
example.
the Saudi thing is a bit of a blot on his
Mm.
copybook, but other than that, he's had a hell of a career, and you can't blame them. Like none of us, we can all go, oh, I'd stay with the club, and but none of us. If another company came around and offered us the same job that we're doing today for 4 times the salary, not one of us would turn that down.
Yeah, no, no. Right then. So our next match, Paul, is on Wednesday against Luton. It's got the potential to be another similar match to
Oh,
yesterday against what an ugly team, big players, strong, athletic. Uh, hopefully they haven't watched yesterday's match and they don't play the same way because we could be in trouble again, could we?
I just checked. They're second bottom. Oh, Jesus. And we're at home. This, all right, this is going to be a 5-0 thrashing by us, or it's going to be more of the same of what we just had with the Plymouth and Watford game. It will be almost identical.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
Chris, I think we need a positive result because the match following that is the big one on Monday night against Leeds.
I mean, it's typical Sunderland, right? Like, I mean, I've got a couple of Leeds supporting mates over here, and they pinged me after the Plymouth game, going, "What was that?" And I'm like, Sunderland. Like, honestly, you haven't won. You've scored two. What was it? 3 goals away from home all season. And they play us, and they score two in the one game. Like, what's that, lads? You haven't scored, in you come. Welcome to the stadium.
Yep.
It's just it's different. I hate the saying, and I hate the negativity around it, but it's so Jekyll and Hyde. We need a Middlesbrough and not a Plymouth or a Watford in these next two games. Simple as that, really.
Yeah.
What's the stats for our when we play a late kickoff, evening kickoff? I wonder what our stats are, like how many we've won, lost, or drawn.
Well, it's,
Is there a thing with our
I can think of
evening?
Leeds and Burnley, and they were draws. Middlesbrough we won.
Yeah,
Um,
Leeds and Luton, these are both evening kickoffs.
yeah, Luton was an evening
Yeah.
kickoff, and we won that away, didn't we? 2-1. So well, at least we don't get beat. But
Interesting.
um, but yeah, we'll see. One final thing then. who plays on Wednesday? Do we make any changes? Does Rig come out for sure? Does he come out for Job? Does Salis stay in there? Is it a bit negative if Salis plays in that defensive midfield role and Dan Neil stays in the same advanced role? What do you think, Chris?
Um, I think Rig needs to come out for his own good. Hopefully, Job will be back because I think we really missed his physicality, the way he moves his body and the way he protects the ball. We really missed that against Watford. So I think I would probably bring Job in for Rig. I'd be, I'd probably go Samed. And he hasn't, I mean, he did better against Watford for the sort of 60 minutes that he played, but he still wasn't. I mean, he's not much fit. The guy hasn't been fit for a season now. You know, he's still not up to speed. So, but defensively, you can see what he's got, and you could see he was a bit neater and a bit tidier against Watford. Yeah, I'd love to see, like I said earlier, I'd love to see one of the wingers back and get Lefay in the middle, but I think it might be too soon for Watson and Mundle.
I think the only player that might come back into the squad is Alan Brown, possibly, but I
Oh,
don't
okay.
think. But I mean,
He
he's
might be a
been
good
out.
chat. I mean,
But
we've
he's
missed
been
him.
out. Well, yeah, but he's been out with a
Yeah, match
broken
fit.
leg.
Yeah, yeah.
He hasn't played for what 6, 8 weeks. Um, I don't know, Paul. I know you. Roberts is a bit of a critic of Roberts. Do you think he needs taken out and Mayenda starting on the right, or
I don't want to be a critic of Ryan, but I must sound it's frustrating, isn't it? Because you can see he's a really talented, a lot of ability, and you want him to do well. It's just that when he does these mistakes or he overplays it, you just like, oh, you just want to wring his neck. I would drop Salis. I would drop him, and I would not bring him in. I get it. They've been waiting for him to come along to get fit. He's obviously shown that he's got ability prior to getting injured, but I think this is an absolutely crucial part of the season, whether we go up automatically or not. If you really, 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 really want to go up automatically, you have to select the side with the most experience and in their natural positions and in a formation where there are no clashes. You know,
square
don't
pegs in round holes?
in that, yes, it's too crucial this next period to do that. So I would drop Salis, and then I would put Dan Neil in central midfield alongside someone else, and get what's his name in the hole or shadow striker or whatever that role is. Maybe even put Mayanda on the left. I'd put if you're going to play Lafay, just play him in his best bloody position and stick Mayanda on the left because if it doesn't go well on the left, whoever's there doing the job, jinking inside, it's not a game killer. But that guy behind Isidore, who's gonna pop balls off for him and here and there, that is crucial if to get that going. And Rig, he can't do that. And
Anyway, right, Paul. Prediction. Before you said 5-0 thrashing. Is that the rum talking, or is that what you're really feeling?
It's going to be a game like with Luton. We know what's going to happen. I guess they're still a long ball team, right? They're probably still a long ball, physical.
Well, they've got a new coach now, haven't they? I think they sacked what was his name? I can't remember his name.
They did sack Edwards, yeah, Rob Edwards.
Yeah, Edwards. So they got someone
So
new.
5-0 or a draw.
Love it. Okay, Chris.
I'm gonna say we're gonna have a reaction. It'll be 2-1.
2-1. I'm gonna go optimistically 3-0.
Oh, like it.
Yeah, well, we need something. We need something to give us a boost. Right, gents. Thank you for your time, Chris. Good evening, and enjoy the rest of your night. Paul, thanks for stepping in last minute. And I'll see you guys again soon. All right. How are the lads?
No worries. Thanks, lads. How are the lads?
Cheers.